Sa pwesto ng punong mahistrado, tumungo na po tayo sa loob ng Korte Suprema. Nag-uumpisa na po ang interview para sa araw na ito.
Being our Supreme Judge, that you will guide the President of the Republic of the Philippines and give him wisdom as he selects among the qualified nominees our next Chief Justice. Thank you, Father, for your infinite wisdom that will be upon us all today and until the day that your will for the judiciary is made known to us. We ask these prayers in your holy name. Amen.
Bayang magiliw, pelos ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hiniram, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka masisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit kong baka, ay nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang dinamahal. Ang isa't ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nanginigil, ang bituin at araw niya kailanman may magdidilim. Lumalang araw ng maraming konsegna, kulay langit sa ating mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mamapit at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Guardians of our rights, enrobing majesty and light, uphold the fundamental law. From this writ, all their judgments flow. With conscience free their views to air, they vow and wish to all declare, which are more friend or foe alike, the scales upon us rise. Justice and equity for all, truth and fairness reign their horn. Faith stands the fourth of those who soar, forever supreme court. Vision set on mystery, their vision leaves a legacy. For their honor, their faith, their gaze, the nation will hold up praise. Justice and equity for all, truth and fairness reign their horn. Faith stands the fourth of those who soar, forever supreme court. With vision set on mystery, their vision leaves a legacy. For their honor, their faith, their gaze, the nation will hold up praise. For their honor, their faith, their gaze, the nation will hold up
Session is open.
Good morning to everyone. Today, we continue the Judicial and Bar Council public interview on candidates for the position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The candidates to be interviewed today are the following: Dean Amado D. Valdez of the University of the East College of Law, and Senior Associate Justice Antonio T. Carpio of the Supreme Court. This afternoon, we shall interview Associate Justice Teresita J. Leonardo de Castro of the Supreme Court and Dean Cesar Villanueva of the Ateneo de Manila Law School and Senior Founding Partner Villanueva, Gabionza, and De Santos Law Offices. May we request Dean Amado D. Valdez to remain for the interview, and may we request Senior Associate Justice Antonio T. Carpio to proceed to the holding area while the interview of Dean Amado Valdez is being conducted.
Okay. Good morning, Dean Valdez. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honors.
Any manifestation from the Dean?
May I make a very, very brief opening statement, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman?
We allowed previous nominees to give their opening statement, but we limited their statement only to 3 minutes.
We'll try to
That would be all right with you, Dean?
We'll try to beat the 3-minute time, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
You may proceed then.
Thank you, sir.
You will be more comfortable?
I wish to be interviewed standing until I'll request for respite, Mr. Chairman.
You may proceed then.
Mr. Chairman, I distributed my opening statement. I don't have to read this, but may I say the spirit behind this opening statement, just to summarize my entire approach to the problem. May I say offhand that we are adopting here the strategy of a triangle offense. On one end of the triangle is our vision for the judiciary and for the Supreme Court. On the other end is how to empower the human resources of the entire judiciary. And on the other end of the triangle would be maximizing and modernizing the systems. And with that approach, we summarize our proposal to it. We are asking for the creation of a constitutional court. Of course, this will be through a constitutional convention or a constitutional amendment. The establishment of integrity councils in each judicial region, merit ranking of MTC, RTC judges by honoring them with the privilege and rank of an appellate court of appeals justice without appointed as such to the Court of Appeals upon the recommendation of the Integrity Council. So this is in relation to paragraph 2 of our proposal. They are doing this in the military in a way that once an officer retires, he is automatically promoted. He receives the emoluments of an officer higher in rank. Because of the clogging of dockets, which we believe may not be solved in a short period of time, we wish to prioritize, recommend the prioritize in the disposition of cases, especially drugs cases, other heinous crimes and crimes involving tourists. The maximization and institutionalizing of mediation systems with funding, the use of arbitration systems and other alternative dispute resolutions. This is being done now, Mr. Chairman, members of the Council. We propose that a mandatory legal aid service for those who want a career in the judiciary. This will humanize those who want to join the judiciary. The professionalization and computerization of court management. Perhaps it's about time that we allow internet pleadings. And adopting recording technology during trial. I saw the effectivity of this system when I attended an arbitration proceedings in Australia, where immediately after the proceedings, the parties had already copies of the transcript of records. We propose a trial by jury on a limited scale, and this will also constitute some kind of a constitutional amendment. We are proposing an ID system issued by the courts as prima facie evidence of the person's lack of criminal records. In this way, clearance will only be required if the computerized records show that that particular person has no records. So this will also part of what I call as economic development and human enhancement through the rule of law. So these are the approaches that we want to introduce to the court. But we want to say that the focus of the judiciary will be to partner with the other departments of the government in economic development, in human enhancement. I am now ready for the questioning from the council.
Okay, thank you. Dean, Attorney Cayusa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Dean Valdez. Well, most of the questions I prepared, you've actually answered, but I just have a few left, which you may respond to. In your personal data sheet, you stated that you were legal aid director of IBP in 1999.
Yes.
And that you implemented different legal aid programs. May we know how long you were actually legal aid director?
I was there for 1 year, but what we implemented, initiated, has stood the test of time.
And this was during the term of President
Art Lim.
Okay, so, and you were able to achieve all of this during that?
Yes, the
1 year?
congestion of jails was introduced during that time, and also initiated the training of paralegals because we believe that with equipped personnel of the IBP and also non-government organizations, if they are trained in the practice of non-legal portion of the practice of law, then it would help in the administration of justice.
Well, it's sad that you only stayed for a year because perhaps you may have accomplished more had you stayed longer.
Yes, but I was appointed Dean of the College of Law of UE after that.
Oh, I see. Because
And
actually,
I moved
I'm
on
quite
to
sure.
another professional endeavor.
Oh, yes,
Madam.
thank you. There are questions submitted to us through Twitter that you may want to respond to also. For instance, from Felipe Natanio to Dean Amado, when you made yourself available as TV resource person during the impeachment, were you already eyeing the position of Chief Justice?
No, the position of Chief Justice was not yet vacant at that time, and I thought that was a quixotic adventure on my part because I thought that it was just a process, and I wanted that the process to succeed without necessarily resulting in the removal of the Chief Justice. But what happened is now history, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dean. One more question. Deanship is an administrative function. What are your scholarly pursuits? Which also brings me to another question. What in your previous experience do you feel has prepared you for the position of Chief Justice?
You know, Your Honor, in 1986, I was director of the Bureau of Agrarian Legal Assistance. And during that time, I had the opportunity to help in the crafting of the Agrarian Reform Program. And during that time, I was also the head of that office that dealt with petition for exemption, petitions for retention, and these are legal matters under the Agrarian Reform Program. And when I assumed the office, there were more than 7,000 cases which were pending. But I look at the problem, I thought that it was a system-based problem where the petitions were granted upon the submission of documents So what we did is to come up with the different forms where the different documents were mentioned, and if there was already compliance of the submissions, we issued that form, which has an order to grant. And in fact, during my time, we were able to resolve the 31-year Hala-Hala Meralco agrarian case. And this is to the credit of then Minister Alvarez and to President Aquino. And that Hala-Hala Meralco agrarian dispute that was settled is now a model, I think, in the experiment on agrarian approach to the problem, agrarian reform approach to the problem in the countryside.
Thank you.
And then may I add, because you were asking for my track record, I was also a government corporate counsel. And as a government corporate counsel, I was the more or less statutory counsel for all the government-owned corporations, so that all transactions coming from the government-owned corporation were submitted to the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel for what we call seal of housekeeping, which we rendered legal opinions, just like the opinions which are given by the court, the decisions given by the court. And in one case which was resolved by that office was a question question raised by a multinational milk manufacturer, questioning the proposal or program of the Department of Agriculture to subsidize the raising of carabaos for purposes of dairy, to develop the dairy industry in the Philippines, saying that this is a violation of the World Trade Organization agreement. But I said that, and I researched myself and discovered that the Philippines produces only milk for our population, not even 1% of the total consumption. So I said that this is not a violation because we are not subsidizing. In fact, we are just developing the dairy industry. There was another request for opinion coming from the PCSO, where they wanted to have an internet betting. And I said, no, it cannot be done because if it's used through the internet, betting through cell phones, if you do it through cell phones, then what control do you have with children using this cell phone to bet with Lotto? And we denied. In my office, I made opinion denying the contract where PCSO could have entered allowing the cell phone as a medium by which the people will participate in the Lotto, the Lotto that was sponsored by PCSO. There are other things which I am proud that we were able to inject our own version of what should be good and what should be bad for the country. And I used the constitutional provision in that opinion, saying that it is the duty of the state to protect children.
For my final question, Dean, why do you think that it is wise to consider an outsider to become the next Chief Justice?
With all due respect, I don't consider myself an outsider. A lawyer, for that matter, is never an outsider in the legal system. And I have been part of the legal system. I am a member of the Philippine Judicial Academy. I sit in some of the committees of the Supreme Court. Actually, just a levity. During the JESOP competition, I sat also at the rostrum of the justices. But I feel that I am not an outsider. If you say an outsider, that I don't belong to the judiciary. My position as government corporate counsel had the rank and privileges as presiding justice of the Court of Appeals.
With that, Dean, I wish you luck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, ma'am.
Attorney Mejia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Dean Valdez.
Nice to meet you again, Professor Mejia.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
We were together at the Ateneo during a
convocation. Yeah, now I remember po. Dean, I was going over, for starters po, I was going over your PDS and I noticed that you spent, in your postgraduate studies, for specifically your Bachelor of Laws, you spent 1 year at the MLQU and then you transferred. Why was that po?
Because I thought that I have to move on. The environment there was better. I thought that the peace and order situation was starting to deteriorate in that area. So my parents were apprehensive about my safety, so I transferred.
You also mentioned that you spent a significant period of time being with the Agrarian Reform Department.
It was only about more than a year, but during that time, I initiated what we call the Barefoot Lawyers Project.
And you were also a consultant after your being the director of the BALA of the.
I was a consultant with the office of the Senator Alvarez because during that time we were crafting the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program as well as the Cooperative Development Authority Bill. And I was part of the working group of Senator Busakino in crafting the cooperative code. And during the time of President Cory, I sat as a member of the Cabinet Assistance System, a sub-cabinet level, where our chairman was then Secretary Facturan.
Were you already in the DARPO when the stock distribution application of Hacienda Luisita was
No, it
approved?
came later. I think it came after, during the time of Secretary Huico.
Okay. In any case, po, may I know your thoughts on the decision of the Supreme Court on the Hacienda Luisita case?
Well, to me, it's not really a question whether it's distribution. To me, the more important question in this period of economic development is productivity. Will the farmers be more productive owning lands, or even without owning the lands, will they be more productive? But there's a program to be implemented. There's a law that has to be followed. Until that law is amended or abandoned, it has to be implemented. So the Supreme Court decision was a move in the right direction. I think it was also a signal saying that regardless of the personalities involved, the Supreme Court has to be independent in making its own decision.
Going to your involvement po in the academe, if you were to introduce improvements in the law school curriculum, what would those improvements be?
Well, we shifted already to Juris Doctor program, and I have been trying to convince all those who are in the Bachelor of Laws to shift to the Juris Doctor, because one very important component in the Juris Doctor program is this apprenticeship. There's 250 hours of apprenticeship, and I think the best training for a lawyer is to go to the sea, to the water in order to swim, but this takes place only after 2 years. But in addition to that, Your Honor, we also said that we have to standardize the legal instruction so that even the children of farmers and fishermen in Sulu, in Batanes, if there is a law school there, the product of those law schools will be at par with any graduate of Hong Kong or any other capitals of the world. So that we dream of the time when Emir, municipal judge, can be appointed directly to the Supreme Court. And I think when that happens, the legal system of the Philippines will be one of the best legal systems in the world.
Thank you. For my final question, may I read one that was tweeted? by the listening public. Alan Greenspan once said that the single most important contributor to economic growth is the rule of law. How do you think the judiciary affects economic growth? And what can you do in your term to help the country achieve economic growth?
Because the growth of all these economies which have improved more than us, they pinpointed some preconditions. One of the preconditions are all related to law. One is peace and order. One is political stability. Because the judiciary comes in as the arbiter of any kind of debate that may result in political instability. Then the rule of law. And also, people being disciplined. And to discipline people, especially the elite, you have to strong enforcement of the law. You don't really have any problem with the weak as far as compliance with the law. They will comply with the law because they don't have anything that will protect them. But the elite, in matters of that is crucial to the economic development of the country, they violate the laws. And the judiciary should not be a tool in the violation, in bypassing of the rule of law.
Thank you po. Good luck, Dean Valdez. And thank you,
very much, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Justice Lagman, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Dean Valdez, good morning.
Good morning, Justice.
I was reading your personal data sheet, and I noticed that you are now presently the Dean of the UE College of Law and a member of the Board of Regents of Universidad de Manila.
That really widens my perspective. I am a member of the Board of Regents. I used to be a member of the Board of Regents of the Polytechnic University of Laguna as well.
Aside from
being dean, because the policy of our president is for us to grow as a person, so that the knowledge, the values, the good things that we get outside will be introduced to the university, and we are happy with that development.
Aside from being a law dean, do you have any other experience in management?
As I said, I manage many lawyers. In fact, Dibala had lawyers all over the country, more or less 200, 300 lawyers. In the Government Corporate Council, we had about 60 lawyers. And I was even the statutory council of all the lawyers of all government-owned corporation. I managed the program, the legal aid program. That's why it was there was a success.
Of what?
Legal aid program of the National Legal Aid Program of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines,
I see.
Madam Justice.
Now, let's go to another point. You are from the academe, and I want to ask you this question.
Good morning.
Yearly, only a small percentage of examinees pass the bar examinations. As a law dean, do you think this is an indication of the low quality of legal education in our country?
No, not at all, because our mindset is about passing lawyers.
Yes.
You don't know that every student who graduates, you develop him to be a productive asset in the community.
Yes.
That's why if he graduates, he does not pass the bar.
Yes.
He can be useful in the community. He could be a leader in that community. If he does not pass the bar, then he takes the bar again, because passing the bar is really tough work. It's a bragging right, actually. But it is not a sad commentary to the legal system in the Philippines. I am the president of the Philippine Association of Law Scholars. I am exposed to all the law schools. And in fact, it is a policy I disagreed courteously to the chairman of the Legal Education Board, and when he was closing some law schools, because I believe that in these areas where law is taught, we should not close them, because this is an opportunity, especially that we need disciplined people for purposes of economic development.
So, if you will be the Chief Justice, your thinking is that there is no need to institute reforms to improve the quality of legal
No,
education.
the best can still be better, Madam Justice. We have to continue trying to reach the summit of our perfection from a philosophical standpoint.
Okay. So my next question, Dean, is what do you think are your strong as well as weak points in terms of qualifications for the position of Chief Justice?
I am well-rounded as far as my experience is concerned. I come from the academy, I write, I speak, I have long period of managerial experience. I have walked along the corridor of powers. I have met dignitaries all over the world, and I have acquired that confidence dealing with these people. And I think I can bring all these experiences to bear in my triangle approach to the judiciary.
So how about weak points? Do you think you have?
Oh,
a
we're a
weak
human
point?
being. We always have a
Yes.
weak point, but what is important is you try to overcome the weak point. Sometimes when you have something to do, which is a priority, but you have to take care of your grandchildren because they come to you, then you have to balance it and perhaps give time. And dealing with the grandchildren will give you some kind of relief from the humdrum of the world. That's how I deal with my weaknesses, and
So
I
your
don't
weak
think
points.
weaknesses should be avoided because that reminds you of your mortality, Madam Justice.
Okay. Dean, if you will be appointed as the next Chief Justice, the Philippine Judicial Academy will be one of your responsibilities. Okay. Can you tell us your vision for the PILJA?
I think the Philippine Judicial Academy would concentrate on human resources development as far as
Okay.
the judges are concerned and the personnel of the judiciary. Philosophy. They have to be developed to reflect and contemplate. And they will be able to discover the solutions to problems. I believe that we have to empower, Madam Justice, our judges, because we cannot solve the problem from the top. We can only solve it to the soldiers below. And they will be the one to bring reforms. And I'm sure that most of those in the judiciary, the judges, they are well-meaning. They decided to be part of the judiciary because they want to render service. You have to equip them, inspire them, show leadership by example, be transparent, underscore the meaning of accountability, especially in the judiciary. I think we'll have more. If I have 10 fingers with me as Chief Justice, and you have empowered the judges, there will be as many 10 fingers as there are judges in the judiciary.
Okay. Now, this is my last question from me personally. Can you tell us the advantage, if any, of having a man from the academy to lead the Supreme Court at this time?
I think those who preceded me will show the advantage of man coming from the academy. But I am not just an academician. In the morning, I am in my office. In the afternoon, I sit in the board of trustees. Later in the day, I am on public discussions. I am also the president of the Billion Trees movement. We do things for the environment. As I said, the legal aid is also one of these things. I am a member of the Rotary Club. My hands are full, but I am happy doing all these things because it's a source of fulfillment, self-fulfillment, Madam Justice.
Okay. Now, this is a question from our Twitter for Dean Valdez. Now, Dean Valdez, I will read the question. Would you entertain the idea that imposing court fees reaching millions of pesos is already a form of taxation and should be discontinued?
I think that is unconstitutional. I don't know why the Supreme Court had imposed that. I know there are problems to be addressed, the need for financial resources. But I said, this is one source that is not harmful to the people. The issuance of IDs. Because the problem, Madam Chair, when I was required to submit this clearance, I have to get the court clearance, then you have to apply. But if you have an ID, which was issued by the court already, and it is systematized, we have computerized records, then it will appear that you don't have any record. Why give additional burden to people? The man hours that is needed for economic development must be saved from the requirement of going to the court for these clearances. If you have the ID, you have the ID that is issued by the court. And this, you can use it, you can generate funds. Millions, 90 million people getting an ID from the court. That will reduce the filing fees in courts.
So, are you saying, Dean, that if you will become the Chief Justice, you will stop the imposition of court fees?
Well, we have to sit down, we have to discuss it, but my inclination is we have to be reasonable. We have to really find the middle way. The middle way is always what we call, Aristotle called it the golden mean.
Okay.
In this world, you have to be realistic and practical, and you have to always do the middle. If this water is too cold, and this water is too hot, I will not drink it from it. While I am now responding to your question. So there must be a middle mean, and we have to look for it. It's easy to look for that, as long as you have good intentions and you want to protect the people.
Okay, Dean, this is my last question from the Twitter. Based on your expertise on agrarian reform, will you kindly comment in the case of Hacienda Luisita Incorporated versus Park, specifically on the question of just compensation?
I think that is now pending. I think it has to be reasonable, but it should not be affecting very much the coffers of the country. I think that Hacienda has been already used for productive purposes. There has been income through the years coming from it. You have to go into the table and compute how much reward the owners have received from it, and perhaps we could appeal to their patriotism so that all these farmers can have these lands at a doable cost. But as I said, Madam Justice, what is important is, will they be more productive will having this land? I have seen farmer leaders, they are also themselves, if you give them 1 hectare, they will employ another person. They are doing their advocacy, but they are not doing the farming. I think we should have an inventory of those who have been granted lands from this program. Between the time they got the land and today, have they reinvented themselves? were we able to achieve the purposes of the agrarian reform program?
Okay. On that note, Mr. Chair, I have no more questions for Dean Morales. Thank you very much, Dean.
Justice Porissima, sir. Sorry, Hermosissima. Pangatlong araw na kasi.